What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Gimme presented by Bet365. Why the Gimme? Because it's good. That's why this week it's the Wells Fargo Championship at one of my favorite spots, the Quail Hollow Club in Charlotte, North Carolina. I got some serious FOMO not being there this week, but we're going to talk all about it. I'm Jason Sobel. He is my pal Collin Wilson. And over the next little bit, we're going to give you our favorite outrights, props, matchups, first round leader bets, and DFS. By the way, pull the curtain back just a little bit. When Collin's on the show, we have a meeting earlier in the week. Collin, the first thing you said is, we're doing the DFS lineup, aren't we?
Yeah, we have to. We have to do the DFS lineup because it's my favorite part of betting on golf. It's like I need all six of these guys to make the cut. I want to see where the prices don't match the gambling market. There's such a great strategy around DFS. I'm glad we got it included this week.
I tell people all the time, look, I love betting, but you make an outright bet, you sit around for 4 days and you wait to see if it cashes or not. You play DFS lineups Thursday morning at 9 a.m. You're sitting there looking at your phone like, Buff, I'm up. Wait, no, now I'm down. Okay, well, and just the sweat of everything going back and forth is fantastic. So we'll get to all of that. But first, the Gimme is presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, and Virginia. $1 and get $365 in bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's take a look at the top of the Bet365 board. And there he is, Rory McIlroy, fresh off a missed cut at the Masters at Augusta National in his last start. Did not play the RBC Heritage. He's going to lose $3 million in PIP money because he decided not to play that one. Took a few more weeks off, and he's now plus 700. Just because we might not talk too much about Rory moving forward, if you catch my drift, I want to throw one thing out here. This was Ben Coley of the Sporting Life over in the UK. Had a really good point. The first time Rory missed the cut at the Masters was 2010. A few weeks later, he won the Wells Fargo Championship. The second time he missed the cut at Augusta National was 2021. A few weeks later, he won the Wells Fargo Championship. Once again, he just missed the cut at Augusta National, and we're not going to mention him too much on this show. Throwing that out there. Second on the board this week, Patrick Cantlay and his new caddy, Joe LaCava, who is this is not just a one-time deal. This is going to be a full-time gig for LaCava. They are plus 1,200. Xander Schauffele and last week's winner, Tony Finau at 1,600. Jordan Spieth and Cameron Young. We'll talk about each of them in different ways in just a little bit. They're both at plus 1,800. Collin, as always, good bosses at the Action Network have given us $100 to put into our portfolio this week. Let's start with some outrights. Your first one on the card.
I'm going to go Cam Young, 18-1. Listen, I've learned in these designated events with all this money in the purse that we're not going to get a long shot. So I'm going to take 18-1 on Cam Young to get started off. And this all comes down to tee to green. Last week at the Mexico Open, you weren't going to get a lot of roll on your ball, so you needed off the tee distance. This week, it's about bombers and then trying to hit the center of these greens. Listen to every golfer in their press conference. They don't want to choose zones. They're trying to hit the middle of the green, and then they'll worry about the putting when they get up there. Young is one of the biggest bombers. His driving distance over the last 6 events, 319 yards. He finished 51st at Harbortown, but that's not a good, perspective considering that makes you play all facets of the game. You have to, hit short. You have to have angles and all that stuff. So he was spraying it everywhere. Not a factor here. I like Cam Young 18-1.
I love that play. Two things. First of all, Cam Young is a fantastic driver of the golf ball. He's ready to win very, very soon. This is a first shot golf course. We talk about a place like Augusta National being a second shot golf course, meaning iron play is most important. This is a first shot golf course. You want to position yourself off the tee. Cam Young is fantastic with driver in his hand. The other thing, and you mentioned it there, Collin, and I want this to get through to the people out there. This is the 9th designated or elevated event on the PGA Tour schedule so far this year. The first 8 of them, well, not too many long shots in there. 5 of the 8 have been won by either Jon Rahm or Scottie Scheffler. Those two guys are pretty good. Matt Fitzpatrick won at Harbortown at 30-1. Sam Burns, the match play, at 40-1. Kurt Kitayama, the lone outlier, won the API, the Arnold Palmer Invitational, at 200-1 pre-tournament. if you factor in Kitayama, it was something around 39-1 average price. But if you take Kitayama out as that outlier, it's about 16-1, the average price of winners for the designated events. And so, yeah, you might not want to look too far down the board. And I am not going too far down the board. I'm actually sticking with a number that's very close to that with my first play. You could have got Victor Hovland at 21, 22-1 earlier in the week, but everybody's jumping on him, and for good reason. Victor has gained strokes off the tee in every single start so far this year. He's gained strokes with his irons in all but one start so far. He's now at 18-1. He finished third here 2 years ago, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, but don't look at last year's leaderboard for the Wells Fargo Championship. Go back another year. He was in third place that year. I'm taking 25% of the portfolio and putting it on your guy, Collin. I can't believe it. This is history here on the show. I named Hovland before you did.
What am I going to do? And you wrote it up on Sunday night. You took him before I could. I'm taking one of your golfers later, so we'll get to that. But go Pokes. It's always Victor there. I pay the Victor tax every week, so I'm there with you. I'm going to pivot off to a guy. I am so tired of fearing his name on the board on Sundays. I've decided to put money down outright before the tournament even starts. I'm taking Jordan Spieth 20-1, 20% of my bankroll on a single outright. He was undefeated at the President's Cup last September at Quail Hollow, 5-0. It doesn't matter what he played. Jordan won all of it. Fifth in tee to green out of everybody in this field. And 4 of his last 5 tourneys, he's top 5. I'm not waiting to sweat Spieth on Sundays with all of my other bets. I'm taking him now. I think 20-1 is a great price.
I love Jordan Spieth long-term. I love how he's playing right now. I don't like him this week, and I'm going to tell you why in just a few minutes. My second outright, though, another Oklahoma State Cowboy. I'm telling you, there's a convergence this week of form and course history for one Ricky Fowler. He's got 4 top 10s in 9 career starts in this event at Quail Hollow, plus another 5th place finish at the 2017 PGA Championship, also held right here. Plus, he's playing some great golf so far this year. I mean, he is piling up the top 10s and top 20s. I look at Fowler, and to an extent, Victor Hovland as well, sort of like I looked at Tony Finau going into the Mexico Open last week, which was the performance was outclassing the results. So you're looking for that positive regression we keep talking about. And I do think there can be some for Ricky Fowler. Again, like, he's playing really well, just hasn't had that big time result. I think it's coming. I'm throwing 20% of the portfolio on him this week. And let's take a look at Quail Hollow Club playing more than 7,500 yards. Talked to a few people who were out there this week already, and they said it's just immaculate. It's perfect. I remember the first time I ever covered an event there was, I'm old, 15, 16, 17 years ago. My friend Steve DiMeglio was walking with me my first day there. We're walking around the clubhouse and out on the course. And I said, man, this place is better than I ever imagined it could be or would be. And he said, if Clifford Roberts and Bobby Jones had decided to go north instead of east, this could have been Augusta National. I mean, this could have been the club that everyone thought of as that good. It's just a tier below that, but it ain't far off, and it sounds really good this week. Everyone that I've talked to is just had it in the highest praise. And by the way, once again, I mentioned it very quickly, but last year with the President's Cup at Quail Hollow, this event was held at TBC Potomac. So don't look at last year's leaderboard. If you want to look at previous results, do not look at last year. Also, don't look at 2017. It was held at Eagle Point that year. The PGA Championship was at Quail Hollow. So just, I know most of you know that, but just some stuff to keep in mind. All right, let's get to that DFS lineup, because Colin's on the show and he said we have to do a DFS lineup. That's why. Where are you starting at?
Well, I'm glad I get to hit lead off, because you have to make a decision real early if you're going stars and scrubs or if you're just going to go mid-range. And I said, you know what? I love Tommy Fleetwood, 14th here in 2021. Right now, I like I said, this is a tee to green weekend. He's positive 2.9 strokes gained tee to green over his last 6 events. He has been a DFS mainstay at this 7,700, 8,000. We get him at 8,000 this week. It's a great price for a guy that has had a bunch of top 30s. He's been a player on the weekend at his recent events.
I like it a lot. I'm starting to warm up to Fleetwood this week. I didn't mention him in my preview at the beginning of the week, but I'm starting to get on some Fleetwood. You're right about going balanced as opposed to stars and scrubs. I will say that we did a DFS lineup on my SiriusXM PGA Tour radio show that I do with Michael Collins, and I started out our lineup with Carson Young, who's got two straight top 20 finishes, five of his last seven in the top 40. He's 6,100 on DraftKings, only 100 more than the minimum price. And so there's a way to do it. Get in some more of those stars if you want to do it. I think we might wind up going balanced here. I'm going to start out with Justin Thomas, who just quite frankly he is insanely priced this week. You told me 2 months ago that Justin Thomas would be cheaper than Jason Day. I never would have believed it. I believe it now based on how they're playing, but this guy who won the PGA Championship on this very golf course 6 years ago, I do think that he looks a little frustrated these days. That might be due to the result of the fact that he's taken all gluten and dairy out of his diet. Give this man a pizza and a beer, please. But as long as he's staying healthy, I do like him at 8,900.
I don't think he wants beer with that pizza. What I heard was he wants it dipped all in ranch. I don't blame him. I've been on a diet here in my college football offseason, and I could use a pizza and a beer and some ranch. But if we're going to go JT, then I got to go lower. I'm going to take Bo Hostler at 7,200. Never been cut here. Never been cut at Wells Fargo, 3 events. He's coming off a T10 at Mexico Open last week. But more importantly, at the Zurich Open, I went back and looked about, when they played on Thursday and Saturday, and they almost him and Wyndham Clark, they almost always took Bo Hostler's number. I think he supported the entire scorecard, just birdie fest. So I'm sticking with a hot Bo Hostler here at 7,200.
I like that. Very good putter as well. I'm going to go with another guy he's priced too low, and I'm not sure why he's priced so low, but it's one of your outright plays. And Cameron Young I played him for a top 5 in my preview this week. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Cameron Young gets that first career victory this week. He's played on the PGA Tour now for a year and a half. He has 10 top 3s around the world since joining the PGA Tour 18 months ago. This guy, I don't think people understand because he hasn't won yet, just how talented he is, and especially off the tee on a first shot golf course. Load up the Cam Young this week.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to take your golfer. You're taking Victor. I'm going to take someone here in our DFS line. I'm going to take Sahith Theegala, 8,200, keeping with our balanced lineup here. Positive 5.7 strokes gained tee to green over his last 6 events, consecutive top 10s. That includes the Masters. If you want a comparison course, top 10, that's it for me. Theegala is still on the rise. He's going to catch one of these days, but we'll take him at 8,200.
How about a Cam Young, Sahith Theegala playoff this week? 2 of the guys who are young stars that have yet to win on the PGA Tour. I'd take that. I'll sign up for that right now. All right. You left me some money. If someone leaves me some money, I'm going to spend it all. So I mentioned JT being just a little bit cheaper than Jason Day, and I couldn't believe it. That doesn't mean I don't like Jason Day. I really like him this week in a place where he won just 5 years ago. It's resurgence time for Jason Day, and it's coming. Much like I like Fowler for a big convergence week, same goes for Jason Day. I think Collin might jump off a little bit because he didn't live up to expectations at the Masters, finished in 39th place. Remember, he was top 10 going into the final round, shot 80 in the final round. I feel like everyone's jumping off the Day bandwagon only because he put up a big number on Sunday at Augusta National. It happens sometimes. Pretty tough course. I think he's going to look past that. I love Day this week. That's the lineup. Fleetwood, Thomas, Hostler, Young, Theegala, Day. Ship it. Stock market info this week. Highest ticket percentage out there in the marketplace. Oh, look at this. You guys love me. You really love me. You're reading all my stuff. I appreciate you guys. Victor Hovland, 9.3%. Cam Young second. Rory McIlroy third. It's almost as if everybody wants to go after the best drivers of the golf ball, huh? First shot golf course. Highest handle percentage, Cam Young at 16.9%, followed by Rory and Hovland. And biggest liabilities, stop me if you've heard these names: Cam Young, Victor Hovland, Rory McIlroy. I think I know where the public's going this week. All right, let's talk props. Collin, where are you going with your first one?
Well, hey, Victor Hovland's been mentioned so much on this show. Let's keep it up. I'm going to go. I didn't take Victor as an outright, but I am laying the biggest bet on this show, 40% of my bankroll on Victor Hovland, plus 115 is the best continental European. I'm going to shove away all my notes that talks about how great Victor is and just really emphasize the field that he's going up against. Jaeger, Alex Noren, Francisco Molinari, Sepp Straka. Hovland would have to have a catastrophic weekend to get caught by any of those names. Plus 115, 40% of my bankroll.
Yeah, it helps when John Rahm is not in that field. You don't have to worry about him. So that makes a whole lot of sense. I am going to go to a guy, and we talk about this being a first shot golf course. Give me the good drivers. And yes, for the most part, the really good drivers of the golf ball are also really good elite players. But you can go down the list a little bit and find some guys who drive it really well that aren't necessarily huge names. Cam Davis missed 5 cuts in a row earlier this year because he was dealing with an illness. We didn't know about it at the time, but wound up finishing in 6th place at the Players Championship once he got healthy. He now has 3 top 20s in his last 4 starts. Played really well at the President's Cup. At Quail Hollow last fall. I'm going to take him for a top 20, another top 20 at plus 350, 20% of the portfolio.
Let me ask you a question. We're going to my next matchup. Should Patrick Cantlay have asked Tiger Woods to have Joe LaCava? Like I heard he didn't ask Tiger. Like, is that customary to before you go grab a caddy?
Very touchy situation. I think he asked LaCava. This, by the way, none of this stuff happens with the players and the caddies, at least not the big names. It's my guy calls your guy who calls the other guy, and no one's actually talking to each other that matters. But I think what it was somebody called LaCava. LaCava called Tiger. Tiger gave his blessing, and now they're going to work together. So what that tells me, honestly, Collin, the biggest takeaway from this is that, look, we know that Tiger doesn't play a lot of golf anymore. He hasn't played a lot of golf the last 2, 3, 4 years, and Joey still stayed with him. Now the fact that he's telling Joey, go ahead, go caddy for somebody else. Tiger is not playing anytime soon, and he might not be playing a lot more in the future. I told people after the Masters and before this latest surgery that he had that the probabilities, at least, it doesn't mean that Tiger's never going to win, but I think in my mind, the probability that Tiger never plays again is now greater in my mind than the probability that he wins again. And so doesn't mean he can't win. Doesn't mean he's never going to play. Just we talk probabilities on the show. I think the probability is greater that we don't see him again. And, you know, I could be wrong. Maybe we see him at the PNC Championship, the Hero World Challenge this December, but we ain't seeing him before that.
I'll wait until he gets John Daly's golf cart for the PGA Championship. That's the next time I'll take Tiger. So that leads me into Patrick Cantlay. There's some positive vibes coming out of the Cantlay camp. He fires his caddy. He gets a new one. So he's got LaCava full-time on the bag now. And then I'm going to take this Cantlay plus 125 in a matchup over Rory McIlroy. Am I fading Rory McIlroy? Listen, I'm glad he's back on tour, and for his mental and emotional well-being, taking a break after the Masters, after getting cut, I understand it. We all need great mental health, but the game is not there whatsoever. His strokes gained around the green. He's near dead last in this field. He's carrying 4 60-degree wedges on yesterday in his practice round to figure out which one he likes to grind on. I think there's just a lot of questions going on with his game about where he's going and trying to figure things out. And he should not be minus 150 in this matchup. And I would take Patrick Cantlay blindly plus 125 against almost every golfer, but Rory should not be minus 150 against Patrick Cantlay. This is all about price. And I'm not the biggest Cantlay fan because he lets me down on Sunday sometimes, but at plus 125, I'm taking him in a matchup, and I just don't believe Rory is worth minus 150 right now.
I don't disagree with you there, but there's a reason why I'm staying away from Patrick Cantlay, and it's the same reason why I'm about to stay away from Jordan Spieth, and that's because each of those two players has only played this tournament once before. For Jordan Spieth, it was 10 years ago, 2013, the last time he played the Wells Fargo Championship. Now, I understand he was 5-0 at the President's Cup last fall, and that's great, so he knows the golf course. But for me, the fact that this is a designated event is bringing these elite players out of the woodwork and bringing them to Quail Hollow. I'm looking for players who are going to play here anyway, who aren't just playing because, well, I kind of have to, or else I'm going to get fined. I'm going to lose money if I don't show up. So I kind of have to show up, and I have to go play. I want players that were like, yes, as soon as the schedule's out, I'm circling Quail Hollow, got to be there. I go there every year. One of those guys who attends every year is a guy who won a major here 6 years ago, Justin Thomas. I know they're good buddies. They once shared a sandwich together in junior golf. I don't know. Check the internet. It's out there somewhere. But I'm taking Justin Thomas at a very fair minus 110 and throwing 20% on JT over Spieth. All right, Let's talk first round leader bets. We're going to hit one of these this week. I have good feeling.
I like mine. I'm going to go
I like
Keith
yours too.
Mitchell.
I
And
like mine.
this is your guy. I think we're switching guys again, right? Because I
Yeah,
like,
you want
yeah.
you want to keep talking good drivers of the golf ball because I think we got a couple here.
Yeah. I'm going to take Keith Mitchell at 70 to 1. I mean, I think I've thrown 3 bets on this already. But for my Action Network money, I've got 10% of my bankroll on the show here on Keith Mitchell 70 to 1. 3 previous Wells Fargo's 2 top 10s now gets a 7:01 a.m. tee time. We love first round leaders that tee off one of the first ones in the morning with a clean track. First round scores for Mitchell at the Wells Fargo: 67, 68, 67. And by the way, if you're not familiar with the scores at this course, anybody that shoots a 70 is going to be really happy. 67, 68, 67. I'm taking Mitchell first round leader.
I love that. And as I told our friend Ben Everill on the Links and Locks podcast this week, I would have mentioned Mitchell and I would have mentioned more Thigala, except I feel like I'd get a cease and desist letter at this point. I don't want to get the restraining order against me. So I almost have to leave him off the list every once in a while, just so I'm not like crying wolf because I'm saying their names every single week. But yes, those are 2 of my favorites. And yeah, I do like the Mitchell play. And I'm looking at a guy who tees off in the morning as well. Gary Woodland playing some really good golf right now. Last week, the ball striking tee to green was still very good. The putter was still cold, but I'm hoping it warms up at least on Thursday. I'm getting him at 70 to 1, throwing 15% of the portfolio on him on a week when most of the elite level players are coming off a week or even 2 weeks off coming into this one. Gary Woodland, those competitive juices flowing all last week. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that world-class players can't show up Thursday morning after 3 days of practice and pro-ams and go out there and put up a decent number. But just the fact that Woodland was playing last week while most of his brethren were taking the week off, I think that helps a little bit. That gives a little bit of an edge. And again, like I said, a morning tee time certainly helps as well. All right, we're almost done here. Let's get to our one and done plays. Collin, where are you going?
I'm going Cam Young and all my one and dones, but we've mentioned him a lot on this show. So let me throw out another one. I'm going to go Tom Kim. He rallied with Siwoo Kim on day 3 of the President's Cup here at Quail Hollow. And, the Masters is a comparison track for both. He's a bomber, the tee to green. He finished 16th at Augusta. And he's returning to North Carolina, where he is hot streak, Apex last year, a win at the Wyndham. Give me Tom Kim and an OAD.
Yeah, I like that. And as I tell people all the time, when people say, what do you think about this guy for my one and done? I'll answer your question with a question of my own. And there are one and dones where you're in a group of 10 of my buddies in the neighborhood and you can pick anybody. It's like, well, you don't really, it's essentially like a cash game in DFS. You don't have to beat everybody. You just got to beat a couple of those other guys. You can go with a big name and that's fine. If you're in one and I'm in a couple where there are 1,000 people in it, I'm trying to find a little bit of an edge and maybe find someone with some lower ownership. And that's what I'll do here. I'll save Victor Hovland for my outrights, but the other outright play that I have is Ricky Fowler. I think in a field this big, he might not get touched as much in bigger one and done pools. So, like I said earlier, the convergence of recent form and course history for me has me very bullish on Ricky this week. All right, a little recap. Collin's got Cam Young and Jordan Spieth outrights. He's got a prop on Victor Hovland, a matchup on Patrick Cantlay and Keith Mitchell, first round leader. Killer Keith, of course, who I really like a lot. I might jump on that. I'm going to tell you there. My outrights are Victor Hovland and Ricky Fowler. Prop on Cam Davis, matchup Justin Thomas over Jordan Spieth, and first round leader play on Gary Woodland. Collin, I know this is going to be tough for you. We need one non-golf bet. You've got to limit it to one. I know you've got 127 of them out there right now, but just one.
Let's go to the University of Tennessee. Yes, I'm dropping college football knowledge on this show. Under 9.5, that is widely available. There's only a few teams that have win totals out there. I project this number around 7.5. I guarantee by the end of the summer, this thing is not going to be at 9.5. So take the under there. And for the College World Series, the Vols are hot. They're back. The pitching, the sticks, 15 to 1. That's going to be 10 to 1 by the time that they get to Omaha.
The whole football offense just got drafted. There's nobody left.
Yeah, they're all gone. Completely depleted.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right. I've been watching way more hockey than hoops. I love playoff hockey. Give me the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup. Give me a little mid-playoff future on the best player in the game and a guy that is still an underrated superstar in Connor McDavid, who's absolutely fantastic. By the way, for more plays, check out Green Dot Daily, 3 o'clock Eastern time, every single day on your favorite Action Network platforms. That's it. That's all we got. Thanks everybody for watching this edition of the Gimme presented by Bet365. Remember, for all our golf content, check out actionnetwork.com and the Action Network app this week and every other week. For Collin Wilson, I'm Jason Sobel. Luck with all your bets for this week's Wells Fargo Championship. Here's hoping you guys hit the green.